Hi, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. Today we have the four most important people. And we're going to talk about, excuse me, we were actually talking about how, like, we've noticed in our kids as they get older that some of the things that annoyed us the most, that were most hard to parent, were the things that served them really well as adults. And we thought, well, let's just share what those things are. So I can say that there are times where my kids they exhibited real tendencies to stand up for themselves, which I think in the world is such an important thing to be able to do, to not let people walk on you, to see an injustice and to fix it. I mean, there's so many places where as adults, I see them really not just defending themselves, but defending the underdog also, which I love. But to mother that child when they used it at me was like a nightmare. Like, really, what I wanted to say to them is, I want to nurture this characteristic of yours so deeply outside of these four walls. Like, I want you to walk in this house and not invite that into the house, because boy, is that challenging. But I don't want to take it away from you in the world, because I think, like, one of my kids just went on a trip, and one of the flights was canceled, leaving them stranded. And everybody was in line waiting to have flights changed for them. And my kid called the airline, and when they weren't being helpful, he said, "Well, how are we going to resolve this?" He's 21 years old. How are we going to resolve this? And so he ended up with a hotel room for 4 rooms for he and his 3 friends, while nobody else in that line got anything. Like, they were announcing over and over again, there are no hotel rooms. And that kid knew how to advocate to get it. That same kid does it at home. So you can imagine that it's not as delightful, but it's so delightful to hear what he did there. Okay, Mindy, you're shaking your head.
Well, two things. I would jump in with, I'm guessing that's your youngest of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think those youngest kids, boy, do they learn and do they pick up and they see what works and doesn't work. But I would agree with you, Sue. For me, it was that struggle, that, the fighting back, their stubbornness, their what are you, crazy, that kind of stuff. And then as they got older, I saw that with, I remember I think it was my youngest, I can't remember. And I said to him, oh, he's out in California, and so there's not a lot of public transportation, and they were going out somewhere. And I said, I just worry about, drinking and driving. And, and he said, me? Like, he was at, like, you haven't learned by now. And it was sort of that, like, that stubbornness of, I know not to do that. Why would you even question me? Watch, I'll get a phone call and he got arrested last night. But up until now, but he
was insulted that you even thought that.
Yes, that I would even question. And it was the same, like, if I would question them about where they were going or what they were, that fight back, that what. So then you see that as an adult, that they're pretty firm in their convictions, and, hopefully in a good way. But that the struggle with us kind of solidified their self-confidence, I think, their ability to stand up to us, practicing on us, Sue. They were practicing.
Oh, that is such a good way to put that. Wow, that is so excellent. We're taking the beating up because they have to practice somewhere. That's great.
They have to practice. Easy for me to say now because we survived it.
Yeah, we did.
Not so easy then.
That's a good one. Social work Mindy comes out.
Find a positive spin.
Yeah. All right, Melissa, what you got?
I think in my home, what drove me crazy was when my kids would, like, go in their rooms and close the door for really, really long periods of time. And I wouldn't know what was going on. And I don't know. It was really hard for me because I wanted to check in on them and make sure they're okay. And, but as they've gotten older, I've come to understand that either they're doing, like, really creative stuff and they just don't want to be interrupted in there, because both my kids are very creative. One's an artist and one's a writer. And the collage artist, who strangely just started. but also it's kind of like a form of self-regulation, I think. Like
Mhm,
they know when they've had enough and they just need their personal
mhm.
space to recoup, and I think it's just been so good for their mental health. And I used to worry that it was horrible for their mental health. Like I wanted to be there to check on them and just make sure nothing ever happened to
Mm,
them, like the
yeah.
overprotective mom. But like they really needed that alone time to just kind of process and cry or whatever the heck they were doing. I don't know what they were doing. It was
You know,
the
but
hard
Melissa,
part.
that's the thing. That's why I mean it's such a good perspective that they learned how to self-soothe. If there's a
Yeah.
lot of stress, they know how to find their own space and to take it. And but at the time, I remember having to say to one of my kids, I'm worried what's going on behind
Yeah.
the door. So
Mhm,
I need some communication with me before you shut that door. Like if there's been something like that you're furious about and you go into your room and you close the door, my mind goes in all
mhm,
terrible places that they're going to self-harm
Mhm.
or something is going to happen. And so I said, if you need that space, I want to give it to you, but I just need you to say to me, I'm okay. And you can even scream it at me. I need space now, but I'm okay.
mhm.
Like that was the thing. Cause how do you know?
Right.
How would you
Yeah.
know that that moment wasn't the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
it's terrifying.
And to sort of jump on that, one of my boys was more of that, which I didn't realize that at the time, introverted.
Mhm.
And as he's gotten older, one of the positive of that, of him, kind of being alone or staying by himself or in his room, is now that he's older and on his own, he's okay if he has nothing to do for a weekend or an evening, or he enjoys, oh, I'm home, he's a real sports kid. I got sports, I'm working out. And I think that turned into, he's okay. He's not lonely when he's alone most of the time. And I think that comes from that. They're okay being by themselves, which is
I always
important.
thought that was one of the hardest parenting pieces because I remember a guy wrote an article of research about loneliness and how loneliness is really important for growth. Like it's a developmental necessity to have loneliness, not to be alone, that too, but loneliness because in loneliness it's kind of like boredom. Like things come
Mm.
out of those two emotions, like creativity or understanding what you need, and maybe you need alone time, but maybe you need people or whatever it is. But loneliness also is terrifying because it could be that you're depressed. And
Mhm.
so like that was always to me the scariest part of it. Like how do I distinguish between like a good loneliness and a bad loneliness?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Les, did you have anything to jump in with?
Oh, I mean, I was just going to say, me as a teenager and as an adult, I am easygoing. I am lazy. They are two sides of the same coin, where I don't necessarily like doing a lot of things, going a lot of places, and I think it drove. I think it drove my dad crazy a lot of times. Of I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to do that thing. I don't want to get a job. I don't want all this. When you're 16, you just want to sit home and play video games. But at the same time, like I'm very easy to. I don't know. Like I still don't do a lot of stuff in my day-to-day adult life, but I'm also just like, yeah, whatever. I guess suddenly I'm doing this thing, but I'm not gonna like plan it out, figure all this stuff out.
Okay, so I just need to jump in here because Jess is one of the most hardworking people that I have ever met. And yes, you are still easygoing because you adjust to our schedule. Like, I love these things about
Mm-hmm.
you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
I
understand
would
how you don't
agree.
recognize how hard you're working, but like,
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
thank you. That means a lot to me. I guess it's more in my
That was lovely to point out and true.
my
Totally
personal life.
true. But also, I think what I love about what you're saying, Jessica, is that I think, and this is a theme for all of us in this conversation, is that when our kids aren't doing a lot, we can worry because we
Mm-hmm.
live in a space where the extrovert is so much more valued. There's like
Yeah.
a sense that if you're doing a lot, you're having a better life. But for someone who's not the extrovert, and to raise those kids as I'm an extrovert, having kids who are introverts was so challenging for me. It was like, even to this day, I probably ask too often, do you have plans for the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
And for some of
Yeah.
my kids, they're really happier when they have fewer plans.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
really,
Also the achievement focus of our society,
yeah.
like what have you done? What are you doing? What's your job? What's this? What's that? And like, I'd be happy with a very kind person, someone who's a good citizen, a good friend, who takes good care of themselves and other people. I don't need all the accolades for my kids. I mean, it would be lovely to have them. I'm not gonna lie and say that, but
Well, you don't want them at the expense of the other, though.
right, I really don't.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So Jessica, you fill all of that, which is great. And if it's hard for your dad, tell him to listen to what Melissa just said.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to make sure he gets a Facebook account first, and then I will show him this video.
Well, you could show him on yours too.
Or
That's
these
true.
things, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really like this. Anybody else have anything else to add?
I will add that some of the things that drove me crazy or just really irked me when my kids were teens still irk me now that they're young adults.
Fair point, Melissa. Fair point. Yes. Yep.
That's very funny.
Fair point. And one of them, I will say, to jump on, they always used to say, or the experts, whatever, we always heard, your kids will take it out on the ones you love, that snippiness or that, or but when does that end? Like, kind of that same thing. Like, I still get some that, like, I know they're pissed at something else, but I'll hear it. You know what I mean? I'll say something longer. So yeah, it's still there. It doesn't all magically disappear when they had 22 or 24 or something.
Yeah, well, because we still remain the safest to throw it on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'll just add one more thing. Is
Yeah.
that my kids are really good at reminding me. Well, they don't know that they're reminding me, but their behaviors are reminding me that I did the exact same things to my mom growing up. So,
yeah.
payback, I guess.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that the takeaway for me is that we're still going to get the rough side of them, but sometimes we get a glimmer of hope in seeing that it's a characteristic that will do them well in life.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. And on that note, everybody, have a great week. We're gone for the next 2 weeks, and we will be back on July 10th.
And happy June 19th.
Oh, happy Juneteenth. And also there'll be July 4th in there. So happy.
Enjoy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.